This is TWiT.
A lot of Apple users have soft spots in their hearts for 1Password. But 1Password apparently doesn't have the same soft spot in their hearts for Apple users. They used to have, in fact, they were originally a native Mac password manager. That's where they started. And, of course, for a long time, they've had a native app. Jason Snell writing in 6 colors, not important enough. 1Password abandons its native Mac app. It's going to Electron, which means cross-platform, basically. I have to say, that's in the beta version of 1Password 8 for Mac. I have to say, my guess is very few people, I don't know, use the app, and most people use the browser extension.
So they've gone above and like I really like the company. I love Dave Thier and I love Rouse Rustam. I'm going to say their names wrong, but they're fantastic people. And there's been a lot of concern and controversy because they expanded into enterprise. They took a lot of VC money, and a lot of times we've seen our favorite apps like corrupt and corrode under that sort of direction, like just not become what we want to use anymore. And so there's been a lot of concern over 1Password. They put up a blog post recently where they discussed that they basically bifurcated the app. They took all the logic and put it server side in a Rust implementation because they thought that would be the best for overall performance across platform. But then they had to make UIs for all of the front ends, and they were doing Swift UI because that's the latest and greatest thing. And they just could not make it work on the Mac. And a lot of other developers are going, yeah, it's not ready for prime time on the Mac. Not unless you're like Apple and you can basically, you have the engineers, writing the app for you. So, and for a variety of reasons, they couldn't go back and do Catalyst, and they're still working on Swift UI. They didn't have time to go back and redo it in AppKit. So they decided to use the Electron app, which is what they've made for massive cross-platform support and older Macs, because Swift UI doesn't work on older Macs either. They'd planned on that as being sort of their legacy support, and they're being forced is a hard word. They ultimately own the choices that they make.
And to be fair, they're doing that on Windows as well as on Mac OS. It's not just Mac OS.
Windows is capitulated to
Electron,
native web apps. Well, Electron and progressive web apps, all of that. Like Microsoft no longer really has a native development, not the way they used to with Win32. But Apple, we're still fighting for it. So people hate it, and they're like, we're still working on this. You will get your Swift UI app. We haven't abandoned it. It's just like this is the best that we could do for now. And some people are hella angry.
Yeah, given our history of shipping great apps built using the native UI toolkit Apple provides, the ability those toolkits gives us to meet the goal of an app that feels at home on the system, we wanted to continue that trend, but we couldn't. So we decided for a two-prong approach. We would build 2 Mac apps, one written in Swift UI that targeted the latest operating systems, another using Web UI, aka Electron, that allow us to cover older OSs.
I think the problem for me is that Electron apps are just such pigs when it comes to CPU usage. That
because they're basically Chromium. It's an entire Chromium built in. So but on the other hand, we're all used to Web UIs, so it's kind of an easy, simple way to make a cross-platform app. Yeah, I'm sympathetic. I didn't realize Swift UI was that hard or that bad. What we're finding, I know that a lot of us have been talking about it recently, is not that it's hard to find people that are available to work on it, because it's so new.
As soon as you get, it's not that it's new, and also as soon as you show any capability, the number of people that want to hire you is so high that it's just really hard to find anybody that's in the wild, and we're finding that with a couple people that I know that are developers. They're like, I have to compete with, Apple and Google and Facebook and Amazon and all these other folks that are writing stuff. I have to compete with all of them because they're just snapping people up and paying way more than smaller developers can afford.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe a tempest in a teapot.
Yeah. And at the same time, Apple's really, really increased the purview of the iCloud keychain system. It does a lot more now. Yesterday they released iCloud keychain. Basically, in the latest iCloud update for Windows, you can't do everything that you can do in the Mac yet, but you can fill passwords, you can autofill. I don't believe it does credit cards yet, but it's and doesn't do Android, doesn't do Linux, but like for a lot of people, Windows was the pain point. So that's
the only reason. I think it's a very good implementation. I know it's extremely secure, but it's I thought it was only Mac. I'm interested to hear this on Windows.
That's a very telling choice. Because they're very, very aware that they've got a lot of users who are Windows laptop users, but their personal phone is an iPhone. They certainly don't want to help people who are maybe iPhone users switch to Android think, oh, no worries, all my passwords will just simply migrate over because I just got to download this Android Apple Password app.
Yeah.